Good morning, folks. After hundreds of questions in a matter of 2 days on the magnetic North Pole, let's update the status of the pole shift. Magnetic North Pole has begun speeding towards Siberia. We see a definitive increase in speed over about 200 years. Past modeling shows that the magnetic pole indeed treks around quite a bit, probably more than you'd guessed, but they say this takes a very long time, that it's slow and steady, and I don't think that holds weight. After a few hundred years of relative standstill in northern Canada, the pole began racing across the Arctic Ocean, was clocked as fast as 40 miles per year in late 2009. Since then, I must say it appears to have taken a moderate and potentially short-term slowdown. First, the pole does not go in a straight line, it circles around. We've only got the last 4 years circles drawn here. You can see that they're getting smaller, indeed not even getting out past the wide pathway taken in 2008 and 2009. Means it's moving slower. Coming to the polar drift, we see the potential short-term nature of that slowdown as we may be about to cross the line again. Technically, the pole has moved a very long way since January 1, but this is only half the circle. It's about to head back up the other way and balance it out. Let's go next level and search for a pattern. Y pole values here, we'll do this for X afterwards. Notice bumps upward on the pole value, with the smallest delta as the Chandler and seasonal components read wider. At the bottom you see irregularities being less of late. Same thing for the X-coordinate pole value. They go up in bumps, least of all at the Chandler spikes, waning irregularity at the bottom. Does look like we're due for another bump, wouldn't you say? That low I mentioned yesterday is causing severe flooding in Auckland. We're not done there. Euro flooding continues and is now accompanied by Italian lightning. Storms made it into Canada again yesterday. We'll do it today as the pop-up storms will again seek the pressure convergence. Easiest to identify on the wind map where those opposing forces meet tonight for a severe watch zone. Yet another gamma burst from celestial north is out of the Draco constellation. You remember yesterday's almost M flare, endless spirals showing a very small CME mostly missing south but with a glancing blow possible later this week. Impact not expected to cause any damage and is small enough we might not even notice a disruption to Earth's magnetic shield. Sunspot development, our shining star at the moment. Even though they're not really flaring, the southern sunspots are pretty much Delta class, and yet we are all quiet on the western limb. Primary magnetic connections out there as well. 6 days ago, we discussed the beginning of a quake watch due to this coronal hole, but we said multiple times we'd need to wait for the electron storm from the previous week's major level coronal hole to die down before the quakes would begin. It did dive down, came back up a full order of magnitude lower in severity, and we got our first 6-pointer in 8 days. It was deadly. By the way, USGS did catch yesterday's North Atlantic quaking. Still got some work to do on Africa though. Don't see that every day. But back to the current quake watch. Electron flux has jumped up again and quakes are quiet. We still likely have to see this drop before more big ones. And if that flux dies down in the next day or so, the second half of the watch also sees a near transequatorial coronal hole marking the end of this umbral opening. I'm betting that the flux does indeed die down with the speedy particles of the coronal hole stream slowly subsiding. Still way above average at 600 kilometers per second though. Plasma will penetrate moderately at this speed, but without density there is no magnetic storm. Just the anticipation of a waning flux and incoming coronal hole and shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear, it's 6:40 a.m. Eastern Time and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.